In Georgetown, Texas, on the campus of Southwestern University, I'm Pat Coleman with D3Football.com. I'm talking with Joe Austin, the head coach of Southwestern, who's been here for a little over 18 months and coached a grand total of 2 games. Well, for you, it's welcome back to Division III football, and for Southwestern, it's welcome to Division III for football.
Absolutely. It's been a good transition so far. Our school's done things the right way, in my opinion. They brought me in with enough time to prepare and recruit and build a staff, time to get our facilities built, and so we feel like we're hitting the ground running.
With 18 months to start, you were hired in February of 2012. What does the to-do list look like, and what does the timeline look like leading into the first game a couple weeks ago?
The to-do list is extensive, and I think the benefit for Southwestern of hiring me, having been a head coach in Division III before, is I could help them with the to-do list. Mm-hmm. There were the big things that they knew about, but some of the details I kind of was able to help them with, and I think that helped everyone. The timeline was get recruiting as fast as we could even when I got here, and we're able to bring in 9 or 10 guys our first year. Not a huge number based on when we came in and were able to start, but we brought some guys in that have been here for a year, and that helped from a leadership standpoint. We phased in our hiring. I brought 2 guys with me from my staff at Hanover. Mm-hmm. Then we hired 3 more guys last December. They made our last full-time hire this summer. So we've kind of phased those things in. But the main thing was just making sure we get our recruiting in place. And the rest was kind of out of our hands. The construction timelines, we moved into this building a little bit late, but that's okay. But we just wanted to make sure that the recruiting timelines were all what a normal Division III recruiting cycle would be.
And this building is a 15,000 square foot facility that has, as you can see, some of the lockers behind us. There's a brand new weight room. It's adjacent to the practice field and maybe the eventual playing field, although you guys currently play off campus. We do.
We have a great stadium in Georgetown, 11,000 seat stadium, Birkelbach Stadium. In our home opener, we set the SCAC conference attendance record. Mm-hmm. Record I think we may be hopefully breaking every week for a while, and especially once we get playing well, probably continue to push that up. So right now, we were able to put our resources into this facility, and we're really happy with it. To have a brand new weight room with top-of-line equipment, have a brand new locker room, brand new meeting rooms, coaches' rooms, training rooms, everything we need for a nationally competitive football program we feel like we have.
And that's the goal, obviously. It's obviously a goal for any football program. How does the institution feel about that? I know sometimes some schools are content with having 150 tuition-paying student athletes and maybe not necessarily being in a position to compete. Here in Texas, in Division III, you guys know what it would take to compete on a Division III level because you can see it.
Well, I think one of the main things that they needed at Southwestern was they needed male enrollees. They needed tuition revenue. With that said, our athletic director made clear to me that they want to compete, and I like that. I didn't want to come into somewhere where there wasn't that commitment. And you can see by the facility we're in, they're making a commitment. What I liked is I liked the recruiting location. I think we can compete in Central Texas. Obviously, there's been other good football teams around us, with Trinity being a perennial team over the last 20 years out of our conference, doing really well, with Mary Hardin Baylor up the road. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Division III talent in Texas. I don't think there are enough Lone Star Conference spots for all the really good football players that can come and play at the small college level. So we definitely want to compete. I think we have the facilities to do it, and I think we're in the location to do it. Once we got this going, and I think as our administration and the school across the board have seen what we can do, I think they're realizing that this might be a pretty good fit for college football. And I will point out, too, that we were good before. We were a charter member of the Southwest Conference, right, and we won back-to-back Sun Bowls. We were ranked in the top 10 in the AP poll multiple times. So we do have a little bit of a legacy of when we do play football at Southwestern, we do pretty well.
Did you talk to Pete Fredenberg up the road at Mary Hardin Baylor? I think of them because, in 1998, when they took the field for the first time, I don't think they ever necessarily envisioned they could be playing in the Stag Bowl 6 years later, or they're in the position where they are this weekend, where they're building or opening this fantastic new stadium on campus.
Pete and I have talked a little bit, and I've talked with some other coaches that have done this before, and I am happy to elicit opinions and kind of tips from anyone. So we did get some outside help and talk to some people a little bit. I do think that my staff also knows a little bit about how to get things going. And that's kind of been our lot in life. When I took over at Hanover, they'd had 5 straight losing seasons. Mm-hmm. When I went in as the offense coordinator at Dubuque, they hadn't had a winning season in 26 years. We had a winning season in just my second year there. So now not that we don't want other people's help, but I think what Southwestern liked about us is I think the group that I brought with me, we've got a pretty good idea about how to get things going. And so we feel good about what we have, but we certainly elicited some opinions. And we talked to the Hendrick staff, and we talked with the group down in San Antonio.
Yeah, Incarnate Word.
Incarnate Word,
Okay.
yeah, the first coaching staff at Incarnate Word, Mike Santiago and his group. So we definitely talked to some guys that are going through it now, that have gone through it before, to make sure we're kind of trading notes and seeing what's good and what's bad and what are some pitfalls.
Mm-hmm. You guys jump into one of the really challenging areas in Division III, not just the fact that, obviously there's a lot of quality football in Texas, but also you guys have just, 3 other members of your conference, and you have a lot of non-conference games to fill and not a whole lot of teams around here, within driving distance.
That is a challenge. And long-term, from a coaching perspective, it's one of the things that's slightly concerning to me, but I think we can work it out. Our school's made a commitment to allow us to, to build a schedule. Mm-hmm. We're going to go play our last game against Southern Virginia, for example, this year. Right. They need a Week 11 game. We need a Week 11 game, and we can make it work. And so one thing Southwestern knows is Texas is a big place. Even when we go play a lot of ASC schools, there's some travel involved. Right. So we'll be able to play a schedule. We're always going to field a 10-game schedule, and we're going to do what we need to do. And if it involves some plane travel, it'll involve some plane travel. And so we definitely have the commitment from our administration. We're not just going to go out and play a few games and just exist. We're going to go and field a full program and do what we need to do to make sure that we're playing who we need to play.
The SCAC continues to grow. I mean, obviously you guys added football, but Southwestern has been in the conference for many years. Texas Lutheran joined, and they bring a quality football program into the conference, as you guys have seen the first couple weeks here in this league. Is there anybody else that you know of that's coming over from the ASC, or anybody who's currently in the league who might be thinking about adding football at some point?
That I don't know. And if I speculated, I'm sure my administration would get mad at me. There's rumblings, but I don't. I don't want to substantiate anything. I do think over time the SCAC, from what I hear, will probably change a little bit more. Who knows when that'll be and what that'll be. I guess that's something that you guys can research and figure out. You guys are pretty good at that as far as knowing what's going to happen before it happens. But I think for at least a few years it's probably going to be the 4 schools. My guess is a lot of the ASC, I know they talked. I think they want to stick together for a while. Uh-huh. And some teams that left, right, and maybe they come back. Who knows? I don't think in a decade we'll be the same way. But if I had to guess, I'd say for the next 2, 3, 4 years, we're probably going to be the same football-wise.
You brought in 100 students to start the first season, or about 100 football players. One of the, there are some good things and some bad things about starting up a program. One of them is that, you start with those 100 kids and you have, probably 20, 25 of them left 3 or 4 years down the line, and you have a fantastic senior class who has a ton of experience, has played every game in modern Southwestern football history. The other thing, of course, is to get from 100 to 25, you end up losing a lot of kids, and retention has got to be an issue. I know it's third week of September, but are there any ways that you're looking to try to keep some of these kids who may not see the field as much as they want, or may not get the experience they thought they were going to get, to keep them sticking around?
Well, we are going to play some JV, and we have just enough, I think, to do that. We made a conscious decision in recruiting. Did we want to stay with a little bit smaller group and just do varsity, or do we want to continue to recruit and get to 100 and then play a little bit of JV? So we're going to get our guys on the field, and they're going to all get some experience this fall, and hopefully that's going to be something that helps. I think the fact that we're making progress is very encouraging. We're winning at halftime last week, and just our second game with all freshmen, that's pretty encouraging. And I even heard a couple guys behind me over my shoulder in the third quarter saying, "Man, we're all freshmen and we're winning." And we were just 10 minutes left in the third. I said, "Hey guys, not important right now, but that's a good thought. Let's get back focused on today." So I think the progress they're making is as good a retention tool as any. And the more teams are successful, obviously, the more people want to be around it. So between those two things, we're going to try to ensure some on-field opportunities, and we want to make sure that we're realizing both as a team and as individuals constant improvement, and we're hoping that will take care of a lot of it. But we understand that when you have 6, 8 quarterbacks all in the same class, the guys that are 6, 7, and 8, they're not going to see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. And if you can play them in our spots and they can be productive, right, maybe they can find a role. But there's going to be some necessary attrition with it. And I've explained that to our administration when they hired me coming in, and I think they understand. Now, obviously, they still don't want it, which is understandable. I don't want it either.
Yeah.
But those are things we're going to do. Is we're going to make sure that they see themselves getting better, they see a team getting better, and we're going to try to get them all some experience on the field.
As head coach Joe Austin of Southwestern University, his Pirates took the field for the first time as a Division III football member this month.